Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Seattle's Sound Then and Now. I'm your host, Owen Wright. I've got a really great guest today, and I want to thank my producer and director, David Yama. Go on YouTube and check out Still Pick Productions. We've got a demo reel on YouTube, as well as on David's production company, Still Pick Productions. He's got a couple of great shorts. One of them that I love is called The Opener, and it's hilarious. I'm not going to tell you the premise of it, but it's basically a guy on his first day opening up a liquor store, and it's pretty fucking hilarious. So check that out. David Yama, Still Pick Productions. Thanks for being here today, David. Like to get to my guest today, my best friend, who I've known for how long?
Since about 87, so about 35 years, something like that.
Tommy, the Gunner, McMullin, from bands.
Oh boy, how many, right?
Well, the first one that I love is Slaughterhouse 5. This just came out.
I'm going out May 20th to out in Linwood at Silver Platters to do another signing for those albums and CDs. So if you can look that up, Northwest Metalworks or Metal Fest, Northwest Metal Fest. Excuse me.
So Tom, pointedly out of the Seattle scene, along with his solo stuff, which is awesome. Slaughterhouse 5, War Babies, who were on Columbia Records. What was the name of the War Babies record?
War Babies.
It was just War Babies. It wasn't.
We got talked into that. And then I was Dead Letters, Motorland, Black is Black, Gunn and the Damage Done, Gunn.
What was Freightliner?
Freightliner was you and me and He Who Shall Not Be Named on bass, and what was his name on drums?
And we also, together, we were in a band with Paul Euler, Cole Peterson, and Ty Willman.
My Ty Water.
My Ty Water from the Sweetwater Boys, Tyler from Green Apple, and me and the Gunner.
It should have been My Ty War Babies or something. My name wasn't the only one in it.
Tom would want it.
No, everybody was represented but me.
No.
My Ty Water.
Yeah.
My Sister's Machine, Ty from Green Apple, and Water, Sweetwater. There's no babies or anything in there.
I think Tom wanted to have it called My Ty Gunner.
My Ty Gun Water.
My Ty Gun Water. There you go.
That would have probably been pretty good.
My Water Guns.
My Water Gun.
My water
Gun Ty.
The premise of the show, then and now, is to go back and basically find out the roots of our guests when they were kids. And we're just going to start right there. The first question I want to ask you, Tom, is when you were growing up, when you were, between, from 5 on, what records were your folks listening to at their house? That
we had everything. We had Beatles, Motown, country music, soul music, calypso a little bit. We had everything, and I learned how to play guitar playing folk music. A lot of Elton John. My first record was Sly and the Family Stone's Greatest Hits. I stole it from a party my mom and dad had, and a Rare Earth album and a Jimi Hendrix album, and I knew I was on my way. I think I was about 8. I started playing country music with my mom in bars at 16 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been in the game a while when it comes to playing live music. I played in one band I got kicked out of in high school, and they quote said, "You need to start your own band. You're trying to run the show." And years later, they all came and saw me, 3 out of 4 of them, at the Paramount when I was in War Babies. We always knew you'd do this.
So let's stay back in this little history bubble for a sec. What was the first guitars that you got, and how old were you?
First guitar I got, I was a lefty, and it was a Decca guitar my mom and dad got from the Goodwill on Dearborn, and that was probably I'm going to say 66. And I was a lefty, full-on lefty. Nobody's would change the strings over. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I'm a little kid. So I kind of gave up on it, and then my mom bought me a bass. I saw Kiss in 75 on Valentine's Day in the Paramount, and I said, I want a bass. That's the most powerful thing I've ever heard in my life. 6 months later, I go, I need a guitar, man. I can't get anything out of this. I can't write a song on this. So she bought me an acoustic guitar, and I learned how to play folk songs. And my first electric was a 71 SG, which I regret getting rid of to this day. that my mom horse traded and got it for me.
You know, it's kind of funny. I was just thinking about, like, so you guys that are watching this right now, you see some of the guitars that I own, and they all get played. I mean, this just isn't a setup for the show. I mean,
Oh yeah,
all this crap.
you'd see mine.
Tom's got the same thing going on downstairs. We both live and lease a house together. Tom,
I had to travel to get here.
the bottom, yeah, Tom had to travel 36 seconds to get to this show. So, yeah, all the stuff that you see, we play all the time. And, I mean, I was going to ask you, can you imagine if we kept every single guitar we ever owned, how many guitars we would
Do
have?
you remember the first guitar you ever bought on your own?
I do. I was living in,
I do,
good
mine too,
question.
yeah.
I was living in Japan. It was 1974. My dad worked for Boeing. We all moved to Tokyo, and then we got reassigned for our living situation in a city called Nagoya, which is kind of an industrial city. And I started learning how to play pachinko, which is the Japanese pinball game.
To have one.
Yeah, and so you would go into the pachinko parlor, you pay some money, you get some balls, you put them in the machine, and you start clicking. The balls would fly up and go din 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 din, and then they form the little hoppers that would open up, and then you get more balls. Once you got a couple of racks of those balls, they're like buckets. You take them up to the front desk, and they ask you if you want a prize or if you want the special pen. It was a writing pen that was in a little box. You take that little, so you always say, I want the pen. You walk out of the pachinko parlor, you walk one door down, you knock on a little window, a dude opens it up, you give him the pen. Every pen was a different color, and that described the amount of money, and they would hand you cash.
Oh.
And so I was pretty good at pachinko, and I started winning money, and I got enough money. I think I had maybe 5,000 yen, which at this point, I don't even know how much that would be.
$50.
Somewhere in that.
Something
probably
like
100,
that.
100 bucks.
I may have, I probably had more. I had about $100 American, but I ended up jumping on a bus one day, went downtown Nagoya to this huge shopping store and wandered in, found the music department. I found this little electric guitar with a whammy bar on it, and it came with a little amp, and I paid my money and brought that home. So that is my first guitar. I don't know what it was. It was a Japanese Decca.
Mine. I had a summer job. I worked at a fire station for a couple of summers as a janitor. It was the King County Work Training Program, and I ended
because
up.
you were in trouble
No,
for
not
something?
at all. Not at all. Not at all. No, it was just
What did you do?
Summer jobs for youth, and I loved the job. I did it 2 years in a row. But I saved up enough money, and I went down to some music store that's long gone in downtown Renton, and I bought a $125 Ibanez Strat. And this is probably 70, 76, 77, and I regret I had to pawn it for $50 years later. I needed money. But that thing, it was black with a white pick guard. And the band that I was in that I got kicked out of, he had a Fender Strat at CBS, and we compared them. And he paid like $700 for his guitar in the day, and mine was $125. He goes, they're exactly the same. I go, I know. And eventually, Ibanez did get sued by Fender,
Yep.
Gibson for all their great knockoffs, and that was my
A bunch of
first
companies
guitar
got sued
that I bought. That was the first guitar that I actually bought on my own.
with your own money.
My own money, and then I had a lot of respect for buying guitars at that point. And yeah, it was a great guitar, And you know that I just got a Strat recently, so I haven't never been really a Strat guy, but now I love them.
Those Harley Bentons, they're.
Oh yeah, the Harley Bentons, we love them.
I wonder how long it's going to take until they finally get sued.
Well, there's Gibson.
They've been in business for 25 years.
years.
This is their 25th anniversary.
Well, Ibanez had been in. I was reading about this. I didn't even know that it's a Japanese company.
Yeah.
And so in Japan, like you're talking like the 1800s.
They didn't start out in Japan. They moved to Japan. The name.
Well, the name did.
Yeah.
So what it was is that it was a company there that was this designer of guitars in Spain named Ibanez. They named it after him, but they didn't have a good name for their guitars at the time, and Yamaha was also getting guitars from him.
Yeah.
And so they decided, you know what? We're going to finally give our guitar brand a name.
Yep.
We're going to call it Ibanez in honor of
Yeah.
this.
There you
this,
go.
Luthier.
Luthier.
You know what I was thinking, Dave? It might be kind of cool for the pod because a lot of people that have been being super supportive, and thank you very much for the likes on the YouTube channel for the short that we did, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what the fuck we're doing. We should do some pods about musical instruments, and it'd be fun to get like Jay Boone from Emerald City
Oh, yeah.
Guitars,
He's the
Rick
man.
King from his badass guitar shop in Tacoma, and my buddy who owns Thunder Road Guitars in West Seattle, which some of these are from there, and Emerald City Guitars, and have a pod and talk to those guys and interview them about what we're just kind of talking about, like pre-CBS, who was suing whom, how they got their guitar shop started. Because, I mean, when I walk into a guitar shop, like most guys and girls, I just love it. Like, I just am like, God, I got to get out of here because I'm going to bust out my credit card.
You're going to buy something, right?
I'm going to walk out of here. And when you walk in, they all go, oh, he's back.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Salivating.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you this.
yeah.
One of my favorite guitar stories, speaking of Jay Boone, years back when he had that shop on First Avenue. I don't know if you remember, it was his first in Seneca.
Yeah.
Had the Mother Leadbone painting or something on the
Yeah.
side of the building. I walk in there, and I think it just got signed to Columbia, and I had a few bucks. And I see a 58 reissue, single pickup, Les Paul. What do they call those? The ones with one pickup.
Les Paul
The
Special?
Les Paul Juniors.
Junior.
And I just buy it right on the spot. The next day, a friend of mine, Tim DeJulio, came in to go buy it. He saw it, and he's a famous cat too. He should be interviewed on this. He came to buy it, and he goes,
We're bringing Tim in.
Tommy bought it yesterday. He goes, God damn it. He brought in all the money. He was just, he could.
Salivating.
Yeah, and I just, fuck, it was like $550.
It's like Jay Leno, one of the celebrities with cars.
And back,
you fucker.
and back
Yeah,
then, that's a lot. I mean,
That was a lot of money, yeah.
$550 is a lot of money right now.
89, 90, that was a lot of money for me to buy a guitar.
Yeah.
And, it came with a case and all that, and, and it was Gibson, I took it on the road. I remember, I think we were in New Jersey, and I just couldn't stand one pickup at that point. I was just like, eh. And the strings came out of the saddles a lot. And I remember taking this guitar to my guitar tech, like 30 feet, a wooden stage, and just sliding it on its back to him, going, fuck this guitar, I'm done. Give me my gold top, and I ended up selling it to my brother. And he loved it. And then
who hasn't done that at some point?
Yeah, you
take this thing,
off,
fix it.
The saddles are, because here's another thing. I was, banging on that thing pretty hard. That's another thing. It wasn't ready for that, this just real. I would play so hard. I have a fucked up finger from a motorcycle wreck that this finger would bleed. Every night I had to go buy Lee nails and put a fake nail on my finger because my fingertip was gone.
Yeah.
From playing every night. We did 13 one-night stands once. And I mean, my hands were exhausted, but I loved it. I was like, fuck, let's do 13 more.
That sounds crazy, though, that, you're on stage and your fucking instrument fails on you in the middle of a show.
It wasn't my goat, though. That's the thing. I wanted it because it was light. The gold top weighs 13 pounds. This thing probably weighed 6.
Yeah, they're light guitars.
Yeah, nothing to it, but you go back to the go-to, that's it.
I used to break strings all the time. Finally, I don't know who suggested it. Somebody goes, take your guitars to McMullin.
Yep.
Especially before you go on tour, and have them put Teflon saddles and graphite nuts on your guitars. Because they're like, oh, when you play very heavy-handed, and I got big mitts.
Yeah.
And
I took mine to Michael
super into vibrato and bending strings, out of a normal, kind of like Schenker does. And I love that guitar player, Michael Schenker. He's one of my favorites. Let's talk about that, Tom. Name some of your favorite guitar players that you grew up listening to.
I took guitar lessons in high school, and I learned my first song I ever learned was "City of New Orleans" by Arlo Guthrie. I still know how to play it to this day on acoustic. But when it came to electric, I'm not making this up. I played the fuck out of like 2 or probably 3 albums, but the 2 I can remember right now, and I played along with them. You'd have to get up and go move the needle, and
To learn the guitar.
yeah. And but Dog Eat Dog album, Stranglehold,
Yeah.
that one, and what's the live UFO album, Screaming in the Night.
Oh.
I played along with those until I couldn't play anymore, and I would get up and go put that song back on until I got it. And years back, I still did this. I got a turntable about 15 years ago or so, and I learned how to play Born to Run. It took me probably 20 or 30 passes to figure out the song. I always wanted to learn it, and I can tell you every count on it. And he who shall remain nameless was like, "Finally, you've got it." 2 hours of this, me learning this fucking song. But that's how we did it in the day.
Yeah.
Or a cassette player if you really got rich. This is before anything at all.
It was impossible to learn a song off of an 8-track because the 8-tracks would only you couldn't.
Yeah, you could. It depended on how many songs were on each.
Well, but
track.
you could listen to the whole song through, and then you could hit it back, and it would go back to the start of that song, kind of like on a CD. But there was no fast forward or rewind. So trying to learn a tune on an 8-track, and I know that there's going to be some people watching this, and they're going to be like,
What? What's an
"What? What's an
my
8-track?"
So my dad had an 8-track down in the office. For
I had an 8-track sound design as my first.
I've got one downstairs, man, and I'm not kidding.
I never got to mess with it. It was in his office kind of thing, and he had a big wall of 8-tracks.
Yep.
I never knew that they were start over, go to next.
Well,
I had no
Yeah.
idea.
when I was a kid, we my mom was a huge Elton John fan, but she had bought, and much to her display, I think she did the Columbia Record Club, but she had bought Yellow Brick Road. And if you listen to Love Lies Bleeding, Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding would be the first click on the before you'd click it to the next thing. Me and my brother and sister would play Funeral for a Friend and Love Lies Bleeding and then click it back to it. Finally, after days and days of this, she runs out of the bathroom. She's getting ready to go to work. She was a singer. She just pulls it out of the 8-track tape and just stomps on it. I've had enough.
I've had enough.
And we just played the fuck out of those 2 songs. We couldn't play it and I was like, fuck.
Mama put her flip flop
Mama
down.
put
It's
her
over.
foot down. But much to my mom, when my father died when I was 10, my mom played the album Madman Across the Water every day. She was like mourning. She did this for months, and that's how I became a huge Elton John fan, is because of that album, Honky Chateau. This is how I learned how to write songs, too. It was from him. Back in the day when I was in War Babies, everybody was drop D tuning, a lot of my friends, he was. Jerry from Alice in Chains, a lot of cats. And I wasn't into it. We tuned down a half step anyway for the singer. And I'm writing the song, and I just don't know what to do with it. So I take the low E string, and I tune it down to C sharp. And I come up with this monster chord.
What song is that on?
Blue Tomorrow.
Blue Tomorrow, great song.
Yeah, I came up
on
with
the War Babies record
people
on
couldn't
Columbia.
figure it out.
Open tuning.
They couldn't. Yeah, basically, I created kind of an open tuning, and nobody could figure it out, and I didn't tell them either. I created this. This is mine, and at least for me, it was. And it was the same thing with like pedals. I remember you go see bands, and guys would like put a little thing around there so you couldn't see what they were playing through. And I was doing the same thing because people come up and guys I know like, what's he going through? And I put up a little.
But everybody knew
little
you had a big muff, electro-harmonic.
I had
big
one
muff
at one.
distortion
I
pedal.
still got a big muff downstairs, but
I heard you had a big muff. What?
Years back, it was a big muff story. My amp blew. We were playing a club, and we went directly from the big muff into the monitors. That's how I played the show.
At this point, we're going to take a quick little break for our sponsors, and we will be back with Seattle's Sound Then and Now.
Woo-woo.
Seattle Then and Now is brought to you by Annie Irene's Coffee Shop, downtown Des Moines, the best coffee in Des Moines. I go there every morning. Also brought to you by Des Moines, the Cleaner, Seattle Dry Cleaning with pressing services and excellent service. Also brought to you by Design Develop for all your construction and carpentry needs, facilitation and building. Design Develop. So we covered some really good territory leading up to now. I kind of wanted to talk about some of the music spaces, and I also wanted to ask you poignantly, where did we first meet?
We met. We were all rehearsing off of Airport Way at the whatever the place. I can't remember the name of it.
What was it? God, what was his name?
Oh God, he was. I don't want to get into it too much. But
That's
you
where
were
we
there.
met. That's where we.
Mistrust was there. Slaughterhouse 5 was there. Malfunction was there. That's when we first met Andy. Green River was there. This place was huge, and it had a huge pile of trash in the middle of the warehouse.
That's why they
Probably
practiced
12
upstairs.
feet high. I'm not making up. Rats. And the first time I met Owen, we got escorted in, and
And then escorted out.
No. That's how we met Chris Godey. And you had a guitar, and I think I bought this guitar from you eventually.
I think I know what you're going to say.
I know exactly what I'm going to say. We were talking about how Cinderella, the band Cinderella, would in the video flip the guitar on their back.
God.
And someone says
How
to
dare
Owen,
you.
I think it was Chris Godey, hey, why don't you try it? Right when he goes,
And
the
And mind
centrifugal
you,
force.
quick sidebar, mind you, the guitar's plugged in. I didn't have a wireless thing.
He had a bread pick to hold it in like a locking, whatever, It's a bread pick.
It was a locking bread pick.
It was a bread pick. Anyway, he flips it around his neck,
And the cord strangling your neck.
and the centrifugal force of that guitar was not going to, that bread pick wasn't going to hold.
No.
So it goes flying off and smashes into the drum set. And I haven't even met him yet.
But he
And
knew
I'm
he wanted
laughing
to.
my ass off. Everybody's cracking beers going, that was great, And,
Do it again.
Yeah. I think Chris Godey set you up, basically, but that's how I met Owen. And then the party on that, the one on 35th, I went to that one.
At the Dakota House.
At the Dakota House.
Whitlow.
And then we became good friends, around this time, and faster friends. And I don't think we really played together. I don't think we played a show together.
No,
we didn't. We didn't.
Actually, we did. Remember we headlined the Paramount. And
Oh yeah. That's
and
right.
Slaughterhouse.
That's right. We did.
opened
That's
for
the
us
only
in
show.
like 1985.
We came up and played with Alice in Chains in dresses. We all wore dresses.
That's right.
And but Slaughterhouse was kind of running its course at that point, and we were going to break up basically. And our last show, we played one more after, but we taunted it as our last show, and it was out in Bellevue at a VFW hall.
Yes.
And we had bought big Magnum bottles of champagne and plastic champagne glasses. So everybody up front, we just filled them up, pouring wine. Well, the cops didn't like that.
They
It was
could
an all
care
ages
less
show.
now.
Yeah, all ages show. And so they shut that down right after us. And they were going to shut the whole show down. They hadn't even gone on yet. And I can't remember who begged them to let you guys go on. Somebody did.
I don't know.
Slaughterhouse eventually did break up, and Jason and I, the drummer, went to L.A. So did the Friel brothers.
So how did
too.
you like going down to L.A.?
I hated it. I went to go join with a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours. I'm going to name the band, but nobody got motivated till 9 p.m. I mean, it was just like insanity. I mean, I just never. I'm trying to find a job. I couldn't get a job to save my ass. And so I kind of came home with my tail between my legs and started another band with Russ, Black is Black. And we did that for a little bit. And then I got talked into going to L.A. again.
You did it again?
Another band, yeah. And we already got a band. It's all set up. You can live here, blah, blah, blah. So I go down
for
there.
punishment.
I just go down there with fucking 2 stacks, 2 412s and a Marshall head and a couple of guitars. And this band sucks. They were nice guys, but it wasn't what I was looking for.
So they were motivated.
So I'm there.
They're motivated. It sounds exhausting to me,
I'm there
quite frankly.
my first night. My first night, and I hook up with this chick who's a porn star. who's a famous porn star, who's out of the biz, and she's a sweetheart. I know her.
You just got there?
I'd been there a day,
So
and I end up with her that night.
you're probably thinking, okay, I think
And
LA's gonna work
I
out.
got.
I love
the
LA
next-
now.
I love LA. Yeah. And I'm driving a Corvette, and I'm like, fuck, I love this place now. Yeah. And I call up the music bank at a payphone, and I can't remember who answered the phone, but I go, "This is Gunner, Tommy Gunn. Go wake up Lane." From Alice in Chains, which I briefly played with them a little bit. Most people don't know that. But they goes, dude, it's like 1 PM. I goes, I know he's sleeping. I can go get him. Fucking. And he goes and gets Lane. It takes like 10 minutes or something. And he gets Lane. Lane gets on the phone. I go, dude, you know that poster that's in your in your room, your rehearsal room? Oh, I didn't want to say her name. But anyway, he goes, yeah. He goes, I was just with her last night. In fact, I'm driving her Corvette. I haven't even been here 24 hours. I ain't coming back.
I'm staying here.
And we will be back with Seattle's Sound Then and Now.
So anyway, I do stay for a while, and it ain't working out with these guys. And I go to this store on Melrose called War Babies. And I remember the name. And I go, that's the next name of my band. And it was. I came home. I got rescued by a friend of mine, Jim Paulson, came and rescued me.
Jimmy.
And
Jimmy
drove
P.
me back. And, yeah, I came home and found a few people. And I hooked up with Richard Stuverud, who was in Suicide Squad with Brad Sensel, who was TKO.
Is that how you met Brad?
That's how I got. I started with Rich. He goes. He told me he was in the Suicide Squad, and I was like, "Oh, that's a pretty cool record, man."
Brad Sensel from TKO and
Works.
singer of the War Babies.
And
end.
so he goes. I go, "What are the odds of trying to get Brad in here sing?" And he goes, "I don't know. I'll call him." Comes in, he hears what he likes. I had like 3 or 4 songs, I think, at the time.
Were you calling the band when he arrived?
Yeah, no, I was War Babies, all that. And sidebar on that, once we got signed, the lady that owned the store threatened to sue us for the name rights.
Oh.
Sony Music, which owns Columbia Records, works out a deal with her. Get this, she didn't even own the name. She owned the rights to sell T-shirts in America. That's the only thing she owned. But because the term is an old term, we're all war babies after World War II.
Right.
Yeah. But there was a truth.
Isn't there like a thing about what arena of product you're in? Doesn't that
Well,
matter?
this is what happened. This Sony paid her $10,000
To release the name?
so we could sell T-shirts across the country, but we couldn't sell them within a mile of her store. So get this, it gets even better. You're dealing with a corporation that bought Columbia Records for like $2 billion in the day, which is big dough even then.
Yeah.
So guess what happens? Magically and mysteriously, her store burns to the ground 6 months later. So anyway, came back and started War Babies with Rich, and progressed. Started once Brad jumped in.
Things were happening. Kelly Curtis was helping you guys, and Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam played with you guys for couple shows?
We played like 3 or 4 shows, and we weren't even really that good yet. I mean, in my opinion. But Rich is a monster drummer,
Yeah, he's great.
and still is.
Stuverud.
And we started getting noticed immediately. Within 4 months, 5 months, we were getting noticed, and where shows were getting better. No more Tuesday nights; it was Fridays, Saturdays, that kind of thing. And then, and then Andy died. There was a lot of weirdness going on. It was a roller coaster ride for everybody because all the labels were up here looking to parlay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were one of them. In fact, the day we did this thing. It's kind of like Foundations Forum in L.A., but we played that, and we got numbers thrown at us by 3 different record labels, and Columbia Records threw out a bigger number than anybody. That day, I walked out of that convention center, and I walked to the Paramount for Andy's memorial. So that's how it was a roller coaster world.
Yeah.
I'm walking out. I'm euphorically. My biggest dream was gonna come true. But now I'm going to a friend of mine, and he was the sweetest guy you'll ever meet. Now I'm going to his memorial. I'm crying like a baby.
Yeah.
It's a fucked up day.
The greatest day and the worst day ever.
Of my life. Yeah, exactly. And it was some weird times, man. It was really weird.
Tom and I have been living in a studio apartment. It was like $300 $300. I was living in the closet. Tom had the main room. And we were both out forever, like 3 months. And I hadn't seen him for 3 months. And we roll in to Minnesota, I think it was. And we were playing the same place the next night. We were on tour with Pantera.
You were on tour with Pantera, and this is the last time I saw Dimebag, was that night.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I had played the show, and I'd already played there about 2 weeks earlier. We were on the road just in big circles all the fucking time. We'd be a support act for somebody else. And some record weasels wanted to take me into a strip club that I'd already been to 2 weeks earlier. They work for Columbia, and we're driving by this. This is after the show. We're driving by this whole area in Minnesota. It's just packed. It's like downtown Seattle was, And anyway, I go, "What's that?" And I go, "Oh, that's Prince's club." I go,
wow.
"Really?" And we're in a Jeep. It's a convertible. They didn't have the top on it. It was nice out. Guy stops at a red light. I just jump out. And I go, "See ya." The light turns green, and they're gone. And Rich is with him, and he's like, "Motherfucker." I go, "I'm going into Prince's club."
He should have jumped out, too.
And I know he should have jumped out, too. Yeah. So I go in. It's 3 levels. It's $10 to get in, and there's funk, jazz. There was a bunch of shit going on. And some guy goes, "Hey, man, were you just playing that club earlier tonight?" I go, Yeah, that was me. "Why are you here?" I go, "Fuck, I wanted to see Prince's club. This is big. This is huge to me." So he goes, "Well, I'm going back that way later if you need a ride." So I do. And unfortunately, the guy's playing the cassettes of his band trying to get signed. That's why he wants me in the car. And we go back to the club, and I'm hanging out. I just walk in, and there's Dimebag, and we'd hung out a few times in L.A. He goes, "What are you doing here?" I go, "I just fucking played here last night." And the owner knew him because they'd played there a bunch, too. He gave us a bottle of Jaeger. Oh.
Yikes.
Yeah. So we pound that bottle almost down, and I'm just lit. I mean, it's like 2 a.m. or something. And I take a cab back to the Holiday Inn. And my sound man, we roomed together. He just threw everything in my suitcase, just smashed it all in. And I can barely walk getting out of the cab. And I go into the lobby, and I think I fall down. Of course, I'm Dudley Moore drunk. And, and I'm sitting there waiting, and people are bitching at me because I'm late. And all of a sudden, he walks in. And I had seen him in 3 months. Him and Chris Ivanovich.
"Hey, buddy!"
And I just start crying. What the fuck I gotta do? I miss you.
I remember that.
You're on the road so long, you don't got the only friends you got is your band, and you're sick of them.
By that point, you want to kill them.
Yeah, you want to kill them. Yeah, exactly.
And knowing what a Jägermeister hangover
Oh
is
God,
like.
it was a.
No, we're getting back on the road, buddy.
Oh no, we got back on the road, and I just passed out. Put my headphones on. I think I put the Bleach CD in, and it was like,
Tommy, we want to know, what are you working on now? What you been doing?
Cool.
And what's happening?
I've got 4 in the can, and I got 4 more. And I recently reached out to a saxophone player to play on some songs.
I think that's going to be cool. I've heard the songs. They're good. It's good music.
Here's what's weird about it for me is I wrote these songs, and I left space for for something else. I unwittingly. Which is, I went back and listened to my stuff. I go, wow. And you know what kind of, I hate to compare stuff with me with other stuff. There's a little bit of Thin Lizzy in me. I've always liked that. A lot of dual leads. But what the capper was for me, he was in town about 3 months ago. I finally got to see Bruce Springsteen. It was a bucket list thing for me for years. And I finally saw him, and I just said, you know what? This can't hurt me if I get a sax player. This just can't. This can only enhance this even more.
Absolutely.
There's a difference between good and great. And I've put out some good records, and I put out some great records. I need another great record. And I hate to say it, it could be my last record. And it's hard to do this shit now, it seems like. I'm in a band with guys that are in, each of them are in like 2 or 3 different bands. So it's like herding cats, literally. And their schedules are always crazy. And so but most of the work's been done. I'm just, the vocals have all been done. I just need a little percussion stuff, the sax, and redo a couple of guitar things, and then we master it.
I want to thank Tom, my best friend, the Gunner, for being on this episode.
It's been
A
my pleasure.
lot of fun. You know, doing this for me brings back so many great memories. Also brings back some memories that aren't so great.
Of course.
But in the end, we're all still here. We're creating music. Tom is working on his new stuff. I've got some new stuff that I've been working on that's been really fun. And I want to thank my producer and director, David Yama, for getting Seattle's sound then and now up and rolling. And thanks, everybody, for watching.
Yay!
We'll see you on the flip side.